This passbook is trash. My father didn't hesitate. He didn't even look at it properly. In front of our wedding guests, in front of my husband, in front of my crying grandfather, he grabbed the small, worn-out passbook and threw it straight into the ice bucket. "Trash belongs with trash," he said coldly. The room went silent. And in that moment, something inside me broke forever. I walked out of my own wedding reception. What happened the next day at the bank changed my life in ways no one saw coming. My wedding day was supposed to be perfect. White flowers, soft music, warm smiles. I wore a dress I'd saved for over 3 years to buy. Not expensive, but meaningful. Everything about that day mattered to me because nothing in my life had ever come easy. My grandfather sat quietly in the front row, wearing his old brown suit, the same one he wore to every important event. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes shone with pride. After the ceremony, during the reception, he asked me to come closer. "I have something for you," he whispered. From inside his jacket, he pulled out a small cloth pouch and placed it in my hands. Inside was an old bank passbook. The cover was faded, the pages yellowed with time. Some guests exchanged confused looks. A few smirked. Before I could even speak, my father stepped forward. "What is this?" he snapped. "It's for her," Grandpa replied calmly. Dad flipped through the pages and laughed. "An old passbook? Are you serious? On her wedding day?" People chuckled awkwardly. I tried to say something, but Dad didn't let me. "This is embarrassing," he said loudly. "This is trash." And then, he threw it into the ice bucket meant for champagne bottles. I froze. Grandpa's face went pale. That was the moment I walked away. I didn't cry right away. I walked past the tables, past the music, past the whispers. My husband called after me, confused, but I couldn't stop. The humiliation wasn't just about the passbook. It was about my entire life. Growing up, my father never believed in quiet effort. Only loud success mattered to him. Grandpa was the opposite. He worked as a factory mechanic for 40 years. Never owned a car. Never raised his voice. But he raised me. When my parents fought, I stayed with Grandpa. When money was tight, Grandpa skipped meals so I could eat. And now, his final gift was treated like garbage. That night, I couldn't sleep. Grandpa's words echoed in my mind. "Don't lose it. It's not much, but it's safe." At 5 a.m., while everyone slept, I went back to the venue. I dug my hands into the melting ice and pulled out the soaked passbook. The next morning, I went to the bank. I didn't expect anything. I just needed closure. The building was old, quiet, almost forgotten. I approached the counter and placed the passbook down. "I'd like to check this account," I said. The teller glanced at it. Then her smile vanished. She picked it up slowly, eyes widening. "Please wait," she said. "I need to call the manager." My stomach dropped. The manager came out. A tall man with silver hair and calm eyes. He examined the passbook carefully. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "My grandfather," I replied. He gave it to me. He nodded once. "Please come with me." Inside his office, the manager typed silently. Minutes passed. Then he turned the screen toward me. "This account was opened 47 years ago," he said. My heart pounded. "Your grandfather deposited small amounts monthly. Sometimes just a few dollars." I swallowed. He never withdrew anything. The number on the screen didn't make sense. I leaned forward. "Is this real?" The manager smiled gently. "With compounded interest and long-term savings, yes." It was enough to buy a house, pay off debts, secure my future. I started crying. My grandfather hadn't been poor. He'd been patient. That evening, I returned home. My father sat at the table. I placed the passbook in front of him. "I went to the bank," I said. He scoffed. "Let me guess. Nothing in it." I looked him straight in the eyes. "There's more in this account than you've earned in the last 10 years. Silence. I told him everything. For the first time, my father had no words. I visited Grandpa the next day. He smiled when he saw the passbook dry and safe. You went to the bank, he said softly. Yes, I whispered. He nodded. I knew you would. I held his hands. You saved all that for me?
For your freedom, he replied.
So no one can ever throw you away. That money didn't just change my life. It taught me something far more valuable. Loud people aren't always right. Quiet people often carry the greatest power. Respect isn't about appearances. And sometimes, what others call trash is actually a legacy waiting to be claimed. The day my father realized what he lost, the money didn't destroy my father. What destroyed him was watching me walk away with dignity he never understood. Because the truth is, when you spend your whole life looking down on quiet people, you never notice when they're the ones building something bigger than you. After that night, our house changed.
No shouting. No lectures. No arrogance.
Just silence. My father stopped mentioning the passbook entirely. He acted like it never existed. Like Grandpa's sacrifice never happened. But I noticed the cracks. Bills left unpaid on the table. Late-night phone calls he took outside. The way his shoulders slumped when he thought no one was watching. For the first time in my life, my father looked unsure. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of him. 2 months later, my phone rang. It was my father. Can you come over? He asked. His voice was low, almost careful. I hesitated. Then I went. When I arrived, he didn't sit at the head of the table like he used to. He sat across from me.
Equal.
Or maybe a lower. I need help, he said. Those 3 words felt unreal. He explained everything. Bad investments. Loans he never told anyone about. A business deal that failed quietly, eating away at his pride. I just need a loan, he said. Temporary.
I thought of Grandpa.
Of the ice bucket. Of the word trash. And I realized something important. This moment wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. I won't give you money, I said calmly. His face tightened. But I continued. I'll help you the way Grandpa helped me. He looked confused. I'll sit with you. We'll review your finances. We'll make a plan. I'll help you rebuild, not rescue. He stared at me. You've changed, he said. Yes, I replied. I had a good teacher. That evening, I visited Grandpa. I told him everything. He listened quietly, as always. Then he said something I'll never forget. Money doesn't reveal who people are. Power does. He smiled softly. You finally have both. My father didn't take my offer. Pride is louder than wisdom. 6 months later, the truth came out. His business collapsed publicly. Friends disappeared. The respect he demanded vanished overnight. People who once laughed at Grandpa's passbook now whispered behind my father's back. And through it all, I stayed silent. Not out of bitterness, but out of peace. One evening, there was a knock at my door. My father stood there.
No anger.
No authority.
Just a tired man. I was wrong, he said.
Not loudly. Not dramatically. Honestly. I threw away something priceless, he continued. And not just the passbook. I didn't rush to forgive him. I let the silence do its work. Then I said, you can stay for dinner. That was enough. Grandpa passed away peacefully the following spring. At his funeral, my father stood quietly at the back.
No speeches. No excuses.
Just respect, finally learned. I placed the passbook in Grandpa's coffin. Not because I didn't need it anymore, but because he'd already given me everything it represented. Patience, humility, strength, freedom. Some people leave you money. Others leave you wisdom. But the rarest ones leave you both. And trust you to choose correctly. Grandpa trusted me. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving he was right. I was wrong. Because some lessons don't arrive with loss. They arrive with humility. And my father had one final lesson to learn, not about money, but about love, respect, and legacy. After my father's business collapsed, he disappeared from everyone's lives. No social events.
No loud opinions. No superiority.
He took a small job at a local hardware store, a place he used to mock. Early mornings. Long hours. minimum pay. For the first time, he worked with his hands. For the first time, no one cared who he used to be. And strangely, that's where the real change began.
He didn't complain.
He didn't ask for pity. He just worked. Quietly. Just like Grandpa once did. One evening, my father asked if we could talk. Not at the table. Not formally.
Just a walk.
As we walked, he said something that stunned me. I finally understand your grandfather. I stopped. He continued, voice shaking. All my life, I thought power came from being loud, from being feared, from being right. He looked at his hands. But your grandfather, he was never afraid of being small. That was the first time my father ever said Grandpa's name with respect. Then came the truth. I was jealous of him, my father admitted. People trusted him, loved him, even when he had nothing. He swallowed hard. And you chose his values over mine. That hurt my pride more than losing money. That was the moment I realized. My father wasn't cruel. He was insecure. And insecurity, when unhealed, becomes arrogance. A week later, my father gave me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. I never said this while he was alive. It read, "But your grandfather was a better man than I ever was. He built wealth slowly." I chased it loudly. At the bottom, "Please forgive me, not so I can feel better, but so I can become better." I cried, not because the words were perfect, but because they were honest. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over poison. I forgave him, but I didn't give him control back. And he didn't ask for it. That's how I knew the change was real. Months later, while organizing Grandpa's old belongings, I found something unexpected. A second envelope. Inside was a short note, written years ago. If you're reading this, it means you learned a lesson. Money was never the gift. Independence was. Attached was a document. A trust, modest but intentional. Set aside, not just for me, but for future generations. Grandpa didn't just plan for survival. He planned for values to outlive him. On the anniversary of my wedding, my father stood beside me at the bank. Not in charge. Not dismissive. Respectful. He watched as I opened an education fund for my future children. He smiled and said quietly, he would be proud. For once, I believed him. Here's what this story is really about. Wealth isn't loud. Wisdom doesn't rush. Respect can't be demanded. It's earned. Some people inherit money. Some inherit struggle. But the luckiest ones inherit values and the courage to protect them when the world laughs. My father learned that lesson late. I learned it just in time. And Grandpa?
He knew it all along.
If you've ever been dismissed, if something meaningful to you is called worthless, if quiet effort was mistaken for failure, remember this. Time reveals truth. Patience builds power. And legacy always outlives ego.
If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and press the bell icon so that every new upcoming video can reach you.